Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of, may I say it, Metamorphosis. But metamorphosis only means an evolution, it only means an ascension, and most people would say change, but all of the original elements are there. Brother Neil Frazier is here, and he's going to explain all of that. I just want to say what the title of the show is: The Hoodwinking of Black People, Deceptions, Linguistic Translations, and Concepts. So let's open up the screen and let's bring in Brother Neil Frazier, which now from this point on, I don't care if I see you in person in the street, I'm calling you Metamorphosis. Welcome back, brother. Talk to us.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Lance. Always good to be with you on Mondays. And yeah, man, it's it's one of those things where I'm actually happy now that it's gonna manifest. And I'll just let everybody. I just want to greet everybody in the chat room. Everybody that's tuned in to the LANCESCURV network. That a lot of times we have to think about the next generation, and we have to think about the children, and we have to think about what is the legacy that we're going to leave them. And this is, I believe, although it happens naturally with us, we lose a lot too because we're not focused on that. But so I'm going to speak for myself. As Lance was telling me earlier, it's all about branding. And if there's something negative, like our people have made our pyramid into something evil, this is something we'll talk about today based on the narratives of other people. But, the pyramid is our original sacred geometry. But at the end of the day, as I'm saying, it's all about what you present to the young people and to the children. And so that beautiful graphic that Lance did is perfect. We're going to transition into that as the logo now, because that is a beautiful graphic, brother. That is something that will capture the children's eyes. And then, as we're going to discuss today, why we have to look at darkness and light in a different way now. So it was the eclipse that really caused me to say, okay, now it's time to move into, this is a name I gave myself maybe 5 years ago. I played with it a couple of times. We did a couple of shows with it. But again, this sends, I believe, the proper message. Enough of you know my name by now. If not, you've been on the website. But again, we're going to move forward with transitioning into our true manifestation. And as Lance correctly said, today's program is Hoodwinking Black People, Deceptions, Linguistic Translations, and Concepts. Now, one of the things that I want to make clear here is that, and as I was studying this weekend and, going back, I always go back to antiquity first, because that basically sets the blueprint for our experiences here on the planet. And one of the things that jumps out right away is that the Medu Neter is the oldest language on the planet. It's written everywhere in stone, even here on Turtle Island, and certainly in Akibalon. It's written in the Book of Stones. And all of the people, I was looking at the Etruscans, the ancient Greeks and Romans, and how they were people of color. And again, until 500 years ago, there was nothing in terms of the type of racism we know here in America. In fact, there are over 400 Madonna and child paintings in Europe and all over the world. But the point is is that it is older than the Hebrew language. It is older than Latin. It is older than Greek. It is older than any of the languages that comes out of antiquity. And the beautiful thing about it is now I begin to comprehend and understand more as I deep dive with things, is that the concepts that they came up with came directly from their study of the heavens or the cosmos. And as we'll see today, one of the most critical things that happened to us as a people, as Sun people, was that, again, as I always say, I know some people might get tired of me saying it, but that when we move from our natural relationship, okay, from nature into an artificial way of perceiving the world, then it kind of split us in half. And so I kind of started going a little deeper with how these linguistic translations, how they're done. And you have to keep in mind that when languages are translated, they're not just translated in words, okay? They're also translated in the social mores of that day, or what they actually believed in, how they lived, how they worshiped, all of these things, how they perceive images, what kind of archetypes that they had. And our people get a little upset with this, but this is a fact that 98% of the archetypes that are in the minds, the subconscious minds of Black people are white. Now, the thing is a lot of that has to do with the fact that all of us were taught in the English language. But people might be saying, Malcolm always told us about how we were being hoodwinked. But when you look closely at this word, one of the things that it shows is that in the English language, and by the way, there are over 6,000 languages in the world. Linguistics is a division of archaeology. So you have to tie, and as I begin to learn more about cultural anthropology, you can even see the deception there where you have, where they're splitting certain knowledge and certain concepts and then recreating those concepts and then giving it to us. But I'm going to talk about 3 words in our language before we get into the text that absolutely creates the type of deception and perceptions that affect Black people or some people more than anyone else here on the planet. The first one is synonyms. And Lance, if you would do something for me, if you would put the parrot up there for me. This is, yeah, thank you, Lance.
Yes.
So as always, and this is something that we need to teach the children, is that everything that man creates, no matter how much of a narcissistic God complex that he presents to you, it comes from something in nature. And so when you look at the parrot, okay, there are certain things we know about the parrot, okay, that it only regurgitates what it hears. Now that's very important. That's a natural instinct. And I'm going to show you how far away that they have taken us from this. And it doesn't edit. So the truth does not need to be edited. That's the point that I want to make here. That in nature, you don't have to edit things. But as always, there's an equal and opposite energy or force, right? So this is what you call artificial intelligence. Okay, so they basically they duplicate, what they hear. They're very good at that, because you can't write narratives unless you can duplicate to a certain extent the concepts that you're learning. But the major difference here, and that when you look at nature and artificial intelligence, this is how you know. And I remember Dr. Leola Africa, rest in power, brother, said something very critical. He said, if you want to know if it's organic or inorganic, if it has a seed, it's organic. If it doesn't have a seed, then it's not organic. And really, nature is really that simple. But here again, because we've been indoctrinated a certain way, we don't look at nature, or we look at nature as an inferior intelligence when it's actually the superior intelligence. But the major point here is that man, through artificial intelligence and woman, what they do is they manipulate what they hear, they edit it, and then they regurgitate it back out to you. And that's something very important to remember as we go into how this affects us and all of the different factors involved in this deception. Because that's what it is at the core. It's a deception to basically deceive you. So as always, the truth of who you are and what you are is hidden from you and your children. So when you look at synonyms, okay, synonyms are equivalent in meaning, as another word, but they have a different spelling. Okay, so let me say that again. Synonyms are equivalent in meaning as another word, but they have a different spelling. And see, that is one of the things that separates concepts from narratives right there. Okay, and a concept is basically rooted in some type of fundamental principle. But now, if I can use 100 different words, okay, that are similar in meaning, whatever that means, as another word, but it has different spelling, if you're not really paying attention. And see, these are the types of games that affect our children in the standardized testing world. Okay, because the items that are on the test are germane to the culture which they come from. And again, this is one of the critical mistakes we make. What one word means to a certain culture means something totally opposite. You are the anti to everything. And we're going to show you that today. This is based on the law of polarity. This is natural. Okay, but you need to understand who you are. And more importantly, begin to embrace who you are. Okay. The other one is an antonym. Words that have opposite meanings. Now, this is the law of polarity that's in the world of linguistics, because this law exists throughout the universe and the planet. And this is why they're trying to take away the feminine energy, and trying to take away the masculine energy, because this is a very, very important principle, okay, that basically we have to live by. We have to pass it down, okay, and we have to make sure that it's not just about you lusting after somebody. It's about, when you're saying how spiritual you are, nobody's talking about trying to be perfect or none of that. We're talking about just basic truth, dealing with our young people. And this is why they're so confused. So we have to take over the mantle now of explaining what the actual laws are the divine laws, and how those concepts like the eclipse teaches us in terms of how we should live and move. Okay. And the third one, and probably the one that has most of an effect on our people, okay, and I'm going to break this down a little more, is homonyms. When you have two or more words having the same spelling and pronunciation, but different meanings, and get this, different origins. Now I'm going to read that again. I'm going to give you an example. Because if I say band, what do you think of immediately? You think of a group that plays music, right? But I could be referring to a band, like a wedding band around your finger, okay? So, you know, a lot of how we view life has to do with, again, I know how people don't like this, the archetypes that are in our minds, okay? And the problem is that, again, okay, that's fine. That's what you want to believe. But can you at least give the young people an opportunity to be 360-degree thinkers? Okay. And we're gonna go into that a little more. But yes, harmonyms can be very, now this is because of, in every region of the country, there is a different vernacular, okay? And, you know, the way, if you were raised in the South, okay, the North, the West, or the Midwest, there are different, words have different meanings based on where and how you were raised. This is another thing we forget. This is why we can't accept the narratives of people simply because it's based on what they, you know, how they view the world from a 90-degree angle. This causes a lot of issues for us. And then on top of that, everything is edited from your original concepts, so it causes more confusion. But the reason why I wanted to start out with this is for us to get the bigger picture here, okay? Primarily, we're going to use dark and light to explain this. But I want to lay out one more thing before we move to the next visual. Again, we have a natural light, which is the sun. And then we have artificial lights that are created. Okay, now here's some interesting information, all right? Okay, they actually use light in our environment, okay, to break down your mental health. And this is what I describe as beast technology, because they're using it. I remember always seeing these blue lights sometimes up on the posts, you know, in different areas when you go downtown on the East Coast, and they would always be blue lights. Well, you remember that, Lance?
Yeah.
But come to find out, the street lights and the smartphones and the computer screens keep our world in a perpetual state of brightness. Now, what's
exactly.
the problem? Exactly.
This is what people don't understand. When we leave our laptops on and we're looking at our cell phones before we go to sleep, we're really disrupting the sleep pattern. I'm telling you, I'm still guilty of it.
Yes.
I just want to interject this little piece in.
Yes.
When I fall asleep and that phone is off, and I'm in a different location now, you know, so I'm a little closer to nature, the sleep I have is so deep. So just think about the people with these weird street lights or just to falling asleep to the TV. You never really get a chance to get to that REM sleep that we need to get to.
No.
You really have to work on the quality of sleep because it messes up, it creates imbalances with our hormones, our nervous system.
Absolutely.
We take it for granted. But go ahead, brother. I just wanted to throw that in there.
No, brother Lance, you are absolutely right. And so this is what caused me to start saying, okay, it's something deeper with this darkness and lightness thing. I mean, I already know what it is, But when we talk about linguistic translations, we're looking at you creating an archetype in the minds of people that dark is bad and light is good. But then that's just one part of the weapon. The other part is what we're discussing, how they're using brightness. So they have done several studies about this. And this is why a lot of our people are suffering from insomnia, because I sleep in total blackness. Okay, so, the thing is even if it's 4 hours or whatever it may be, there's a very important reason why you need to allow the secretion of melatonin during those hours, of the morning. So again, like Lance was saying, how they use these smartphones, the computer screens, and they keep us in a perpetual state of brightness. But the other thing too is this new research that was published in Nature Mental Health clarifies just how much light overexposure may affect our mental health. And that's why you see a lot of our people are just, because these lights go against our nature. And see, we make the mistake, and we'll get into this with the next visual, of thinking that everything is spiritual. Okay, we exist on 3 planes of existence, unless you hear me say this all the time. The spiritual realm or etheric realm, the psychological realm or mental realm, and the physical realm. And if you don't pay attention to all 3 of those, okay, unless you're an ascended being, then, or I should say a being that has transcended already, or transitioned already, you have to recognize, and making a mistake of not recognizing. And I'll give you an example, because our people like to lean a lot to the spiritual aspect and ignore the other 2. But it's very, very crucial that we start again to look at the etheric body. When we're talking about the right diet, where, you've been breaking dietary laws all your life, pork, fried foods, and then you go to the hospital, the people from the church come and they start praying, and then you die and they say, oh, well, she didn't have enough faith. No, she or he. No, that's not it. When you ignore principles, okay, natural principles, and then you go and do what you've always been taught to do incorrectly, that doesn't change the natural laws. That doesn't change the principle of it. So these are things that we have to begin to take a closer look at, because it's really affecting our people in a deep way, brother. Out here, you see some of our young brothers, man, they just look lost out here. But they're using some kind of science of light and mind, okay? Now, light plays, this is what you were alluding to, Lance. Light plays a crucial role in regulating their circadian rhythm, which is the natural internal processes that regulate the sleep-woke cycles, the 24-hour cycle. So the daytime light exposure, it actually strengthens these rhythms. But we're talking about the sun, the natural light from the sun in the daytime, because you still need to secrete serotonin as well, but in a natural way, not an unnatural way. So you see how they're always creating something that goes against nature, because the sun is the greatest source for blue light, but this is healthy blue light, okay, like vitamin D. But the unhealthy ones are the ones we talked about that they use as a weapon against melanated people. Okay, but this circadian rhythm is very important to balance, as Lance was saying. But now after the sun sets, nighttime light exposure disrupts circadian rhythm. And it affects our sleep, other psychological factors such as mood stability, stress responses. You see, our people have no tolerance for anything. Yeah, everything is settled with a gun, where we used to throw hands to try to solve something naturally. Now, you know, because of the stress response with our young people, first thing they want to do is pull a gun on each other. Okay. It also affects the cognitive functions. So we see the separation of, we see the law of polarity at work here, because we see the separation of light, okay, in terms of the way that light is used naturally by the sun, and then how it's used deceptively, okay, against our people to keep us in these psychological states. And last thing I want to say about this study before we move on, okay, is that the study found a clear correlation between nighttime light exposure and psychiatric disorders. A clear correlation. Conditions such as insomnia, depression, anxiety, and we talked in the last video how 40 million Americans suffer from anxiety. But these areas were prominently affected by imbalances in the exposure of excessive nighttime light. And this light exposure specifically led to a 20%, that's high, increase in symptoms associated with the list of psychiatric disorders I just read off. And finally, excessive exposure to light, especially critical blue light from screens, wreaked havoc on circadian rhythms in several ways. And it also suppresses, okay, the production of melatonin, the hormone that promotes sleep. And also, you know, basically it keeps our pineal gland in a state of heightened awareness as well. So, brother, you can move on from that picture.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
And see, you can use these visuals from the academy to help teach the children, because again, you know, we can't keep sitting around talking about, we know what have been done to us, but what are we going to do about it? And this is the aspect of metamorphosis that's very important. Once you come out of the cocoon, now you're living according to the law of action. You know what I mean? So, you know, we have to be the ones. Okay, we know we've been hoodwinked. We accept that. We take that loss. Every fighter loses. In fact, the greatest fighters have taken an L. Just like in life, when you take an L, that propels you to you're either gonna, you know, go higher in your metamorphosis, or it's gonna try, because the battle is not over just because you become a butterfly. It actually, this is where it begins. Now you're talking about real warfare, which is in the mind. Now, one of the reasons why I was talking about why we have to be cognizant of the physical or the etheric body as well, and how we've been hoodwinked in this area of language development, is based on the standards of beauty that you're taught and that our children are taught. First of all, your standard of beauty should not be based on someone else, because when you do that, you immediately say that your standard of beauty is not high enough. Okay, but this is something I want to deal with right here too as well. Is that when we look at how these deceptions have been done, you have to understand and comprehend that this was done as a deliberate act. And see, these are things that are hard for us to take, because, you know, one of the things that religion has taught us, to our detriment, because nobody else lives according to these, they'll quote them, but they don't actually manifest them. And this is where the deception comes in at. Oh, and brother, I decided to grow my hair back out, right? But, you know, it's going to look like a peacock while it's growing, because it ain't growing.
Well, you know what, brother? It matters not. You have the right to style it the way you want. But the most important thing is that it's not what's on your head, it's what's in your head.
Now, you said a
You have
mouthful.
so much going on between your ears. Trust me, it is valuable.
Said a mouthful there, brother. You absolutely 100%.
Listen, I'll take you over any idiot that has a modern fly hairstyle and nothing in their brains.
I appreciate that, man. But yeah, I just want to see how long it'll grow. I've been bald for God knows, I can't even remember how long, but just ready, all part of the new Metamorphosis thing. And
there you go.
I might look at like the black bozo for a minute, and but but it's all good. But anyway, just like everything else, the true purpose of this deception and these narratives concerning darkness is rooted in evil intent, brother. And one of the problems is we never question the true intentions, again, because we've been hoodwinked in religion. We never question the real intention of the people that we have lived under their manifestations. What is that all about? When we know that our real history was deliberately hidden and sabotaged. We know this. This is not something we're guessing at. So now, what does this say about us when we allow this kind of stuff to continue? And I always say the truth about our people, the more you look at how it's been defiled and it's been corrupted. And we're going to talk about why that is. And it centers around these two words, lightness and darkness. Now, I have some interesting information about this that, again, Lance, if you would put the picture of the sun up there for me, please, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to make this very clear. Yes, thank you.
I'm going to step down and put on some lights in the house real quick, and I'll be back.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna roll with this for a long time.
Okay.
So, one of the real things that we have to look at when we look at the way that we are perceiving everything, okay, is number one, through your etheric heart. Number two, through your mind. Number three, through your spirit. And number four, also from your physical dwelling. One of the things that's very important about how we actually, how Black people actually move forward is that we keep bumping into this 90-degree angle. Even if we could go to 180, it would make a tremendous difference. But you see, one of the, we'll go back to the title here to deal with this. One of the ways that we are hoodwinked in terms of concepts, and this is very, very important, because back in antiquity, I found out that the only darkness was not associated with evil. In fact, it was the opposite way. Darkness was not associated with evil. But as you begin to see the European influence on how, particularly in Western concepts, you begin to see this emerge more and more. Okay, and there's several reasons for that. But we're going to talk about these 4 areas and why it's important for us to move beyond the 90-degree way of perceiving everything in life. Okay, yes, we are manifestations of the etheric world, but you do not live in the etheric world. And I think that's something that our people, for some reason, feel like we're already existing in that realm. On one side, we are through our metaphysical capabilities. And, you know, I hear a lot of people like to say, well, the world is not, what's the word that they use? That we're living in the matrix, and all that may be true. Okay. But that doesn't change the fact, okay, that you have a etheric body here on this planet. Okay. And so if we would just move from, let's say, the 90-degree spirit way of perceiving everything to just include the mind. Okay, let's go there. Okay. Now, as I said earlier, there's nowhere in antiquity where darkness was looked at in a negative light. In fact, that's why most of the deities in the ancient world were black or are black. In fact, our children don't know, and think of the difference this would make if they knew this, okay? That, and I'll just throw one thing out. Okay, think about how if they knew who Imhotep was. Just take him. The father, the real father of medicine, who not only was creating instruments that they're still using in the medical profession today, but he wrote prescriptions. They're in the Book of Stones. But an interesting thing, and we'll go into this after I explain this major concept that was plagiarized from the Medu Neter. This concept, in the Temple of Dandara, there is the story of the holy child, Heru. Now, this story is almost 3,000 years older than the story that you have been taught. Now, again, I always ask people this: are you greater than your grandparents? Not your parents, your grandparents, because without your grandparents, you would never exist, because your parents would never exist. And they did a movie one time. This little guy is always funny, but he played in some movies that made some good points. I think it was called Back to the Future, where I think he met his mother. He went back to the future and met his mother, or the future past. And the thing is I'm trying to remember, but it has something to do with if he altered that past, the future past, that it would alter his reality where he was in now. And so this is sort of like what happens to our people. Okay, we're afraid to move beyond 90 degrees to just 180 because we can't stand on what the concepts that we originated that was copied. But this story about the holy child Heru is not just in the Temple of Dandara. It is told in the first holy city, Aptu, which the Arabs corrupted into Abydos, or renamed into Abydos. The concept was corrupted. But see, again, there was no The only reason people fear darkness, and we'll move ahead and talk about this, is that because at nighttime, you couldn't see what was coming at you. You didn't know a wild animal was coming at you or basically anything. So, but there was no fear of the darkness in terms of, that is a Western concept that was put into the minds of our people. We did not originally fear darkness because there was no comparable evil associated with it. The only one, and when you look at the story of Set, okay, the evil brother of Osiris. This is where we kind of see this story emerging as well. But it was more, again, it was more of a battle of light and darkness. It didn't have the evil component that was added later in Western concepts. So you got to understand and comprehend that because people with a 90-degree way of interpreting the world, an unnatural way, they can't see what you see. But somehow you've been forced under an ice way of seeing the world, where now you, and all I'm asking you is don't teach this to the children. Let them look at nature. Let them look at the real creator, creative spirit. And they have a right to be who they are, not what you and I have been indoctrinated with. Again, the truth is about everything about us is defiled and corrupted. And this is done in order to take the truth away from you, and that has been hidden from the world. Okay, and this includes science, history, archaeology, biology, you name it. Okay, but within the last decade, the creative spirit has opened up this vortex so that we can see this now. So when you look at darkness from a natural perspective, and then we're going to deal with the visual we have there. Okay, when you look at darkness, there are a couple of things in the English language that call. What did you say, Brother Lance?
No, I'm back.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
There are a couple of
Just in
things
case you want to change
in
anything,
English language that causes darkness to be looked at by our people and by others as something bad. And then, I always hear some people say, well, why do they hate us so much? Why do they hate this dark? Because there are certain people that know this knowledge that I'm telling you today. And I've heard them referred to as the gatekeepers or watchers or whatever they are. They know this knowledge. They know who they're fighting against. You just don't know who you're fighting against. But let's look at dark energy for a minute, okay? And then you decide if this is you decide if this darkness or this light thing that has been seared into our subconscious as pure, what it really means in the actual translation of its natural existence. So dark matter accounts for up to 85% of the total matter in the universe. Also, 96% consists of dark energy. Now, let me read that again, because in the beginning, they didn't want to call it energy, okay? And they didn't want to call it energy because they didn't want you to know, because once you say energy, then you're talking about the greatest force, the electromagnetic spectrum now. You're talking about something way beyond your understanding and comprehension. So again, you're always taught where you have to look at. That's why now when I research stuff or I talk to people about stuff, I always look at the opposite end of the way we've been indoctrinated here in this country, because I know what that's about. But 96% consists of dark energy. And the reason why they started to have to call it energy is because it's greater than gravity. Now imagine that. So that freaked them out so much when they understood and comprehended. Now we're talking about a deliberate force by, the supreme source now that we're up against. We're in the big leagues. We're not in the minors anymore. So then we have to take the people who have the ability to translate that here on the planet. Then we have to keep them in a perpetual state of ignorance. And that's not a degrading term to anyone. That just means that you're ignoring who you are and accepting another narrative. But yeah, when we take this in the realm of energy, so you use the statement by Tesla, which is true, that if you want to know anything about the universe, just think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Okay, and this is why you're held in a 90-degree angle of seeing the world. Okay, is because that once your true power, again, even if you went to 180 degrees, that would be great enough to overcome, the 90-degree way that they have you stuck in. But now let's look at energy, since we know, and just a sidebar here, and a lot of people, religious people, are not going to like this. I'm going to say it anyway, is that that's why you thought of as the Antichrist. That's why they called Obama the Antichrist. Because, again, while they don't acknowledge divine law in your face and principles, when they're in their secret labs, they have to. So that's why their God, the owl, the vampire, the things that they really worship that you don't know about or don't want to accept, then they are looking for more power to combat what they know is coming, the Nibiru, the LANCESCURV. They see, this is their biggest fear. They don't care about how much fiat and nothing you got. They don't care about that, because you'll never have more than them. They print the damn money. So common sense tells you that. So stop trying to compete with them on that. This is why they keep you tricked with that. Okay? It's all about what you do with the energy you have. Now let's look at this word energy, since now, and again, so you won't be confused, the reason why you're looked at as an Antichrist is because the lower polarity. They know that their energy is different from your energy. No matter how much you want to kumbaya, it ain't that type of party. That law does not exist in the universe. In fact, what nature shows us is that we repel things that are like us, but we actually attract things that are different. And that is because, see, divine laws is what runs and governs the planet, not these people with a God complex that tells you everything and have our own people, these coons, constantly talking about things in a 90-degree. You're a sun. First of all, 360 degrees, and we're going to go through this as soon as I lay this. Huh?
Oh, I just coughed. I didn't say anything.
Okay. But when you look at the word energy, energy is the capacity and ability to work. Let me say that again, because this is what dark energy is. And they found this out because this dark energy, or anti-gravity, the name they gave to it, because everything that's natural is anti to them. So they knew that this is greater than gravity, so it has to be anti. So this is why you're looked at as anti, whether you want to accept it or not. But this ability to work, energy is capacity. So you have the capacity to be a 360-degree being and ability to do something. But then this is where the law of action comes into effect. If you're sitting back waiting for the Lord to do something, it's never going to happen. Because again, that is a play on words. And what I wanted to say earlier, what do you think our kids, so the Mount of Ammon, okay, is the first real mountain that was worshipped in the world in ancient times. And because of its majestic existence, the way that it just commanded respect, a mountain does. But every time you say amen, did you know that this is a ancient translation that they brought over into Western concepts? That you're actually worshiping a black deity called Ammon. And for some reason, our people, these stories that they've been told in the Bible about Egypt and all this stuff, you have to understand that there is a greater source of power than these people that have a God complex that have taught you everything. Okay. So like the parrot, okay, like Paco the parrot, everything that you're regurgitating is edited knowledge. It's not like the natural parrot. Okay. So you have a right to at least look into it to see if there's anything, there, which the majority of the time there's nothing there. But energy is capacity and ability to do something. Okay. And that this ability has to be active. Okay. Now, the other thing is dark energy is the force that is dominant, that is the dominant component of the universe, not light. Okay. Light actually comes out of darkness. We talked about this several times before. But when they defined it in the dictionary, when you're talking about the two different forces here, energy sources, then light doesn't create. Light comes out of darkness. So what I was saying earlier, okay, about the fact that it's not just spiritual sorcery, okay, it's mental sorcery. And it's physical sorcery, and that's very important as we look at these different areas, okay, that we need to be focused on. For one, your heart energy, and these are all interrelated, but when they're divided into compartments, it's just like putting milk into coffee. Okay, but you need to have your etheric heart working at full capacity. You need to have your mind working at full capacity. And this is why dark matter energy is so important in terms of you resting and sleeping at night. Okay, because again, as we talked about these different colors that are being used against you, this is all an attempt to, and we looked at the study that talked about the psychiatric disorders that come as a result of you not being able to sleep or rest. So, and the last thing about the 90-degree area of the mind, and when I say 90-degree, all of these areas are 360 degrees. But when you're showing them, they're also interrelated. This is why you just can't be a spirit being, okay? That's good that you are, but people have to know that we have a mind for a reason and a brain for a reason, okay, and that you have an etheric body as well. And so when you ignore these aspects of your being, then you're looking at a situation with psychological stress and all the other psychiatric disorders and mental health issues that come with this. Okay, but primarily you are a son, so you have this ability, but you have to move outside of the 90-degree angle. Okay, brother Lance, if you want to put that, is it the tree of death? I think it is. Yeah, that's it. The tree of death basically is the corruption of divine laws. Now, a lot of people will say, well, what do you mean tree of death? All you ever taught is about the tree of life, which is true. But remember, you cannot ignore the law of polarity, because if there is a tree of life, you better believe it's a tree of death, okay? And this tree of death is what actually runs the world that we live in. Now let's look at the manifestations of this corruption of divine laws, the tree of death. Okay, first of all, you have mental enslavement, right? Then you also have where we always have this issue in our community because of the poison, okay, that comes out of this tree of death. This poison that comes out causes people to gossip against each other in a negative way. You know, it causes a lot of issues that we have to deal with, that if we were actually existing in the tree of life, we wouldn't have to deal with. But this is very important, because this poison, that's why I have the picture of the snake, and then I have the caterpillar under it, because the caterpillar represents deceptions. Okay, and this is an area, again, where, you know, Black people, we do have good hearts. There's a reason for that. Although a lot of us now have black heart, or see, even me saying a black heart. So that just goes to show you, in my archetype, in my subconscious, that's ingrained. But so when you try to use, and one of the reasons why I brought up the homonyms, synonyms, and antonyms is because now we have got to start replacing these words. I know a lot of people, you know, they talk about Black people with Ebonics. No, that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. Communicate. So this game that they play on you is to make you think anything that you create is of a subhuman type of existence, or something that's beneath something else. And this is where this poison in your mind is taking place. And see, this is a critical error, and why I always say not to pass this down to our children, okay? Because this tree of death exists. You see the wolf underneath it, waiting for you. And you know, the poor caterpillar right there is defenseless, because as a caterpillar, that's not very much you can do. You have no power over anything. You can't fly away like a butterfly. I mean, what can you do? And a lot of our people are in this situation, believe it or not. This is where this tree of death has put our people. Okay, the other thing you see is in nature, where we get bamboozled or hoodwinked, is that the weeds grow up with the plants and the flowers. And you can't tell the difference. This is why we can have people within our own camp that are deceiving us, okay, and lying on us, reporting back to the enemy. And the enemy could be anybody, but mainly those who have taught you how to, you know, go against your people and then pretend that you're for them. See, all of this is part of the manifestation of the tree of death. which comes out of these language translations that we talked about earlier in terms of synonyms, antonyms, and homonyms. Because I guarantee you, the same words that you use or we use, those words have a totally different psychological meaning to a different group or culture. But somehow you've been taught to believe that if it's interpreted by certain people one way, that this naturally applies to you. No, it don't. No, it applies to you, all right, but not in the way that you see it. Because remember, what happens here, also in the tree of death, is manipulation. Manipulation is a major part of deception. Why? It's because someone has to sow this seed. And it's going to be a harvest for it. That principle exists on every level of our existence. Okay. And then at the bottom, before we go over here to the education part, because again, it's like a 1-2 punch or a combination. You have these two great spiritual and intellectual institutions that have indoctrinated us from the time that we have any type of comprehension of the English language. Okay, and this is where our people have been severely crippled at. And think of the tremendous, that's why no one in this world, okay, no one has ever done what you have done. To not be able to read and write, that shows you the ability how our people lived off of concepts, even if they had to grunt to each other. They did something better than we're doing. They were more unified. Okay, and so these are all things we have to look at. But when you look at the spiritual effects, you look at, when you're saying you're dealing with principalities and powers, whatever that means to you. All that means is it's something outside of the realm of your physical existence. Okay, when you look at the physical aspect, you're looking at the false images of reality that you've been given. So all this manipulation happens in all areas of human activity. Then we look at the psychological disorders that are created from the tree of death, certainly schizophrenia, which you guys talked about before, Lance, and depression, self-hatred, and then, no matter what, you can't love something else before you love yourself. That is something where we feel like we have to love everybody else. But you're going against natural principles. If you hate yourself, you hate the Creator. So how do you justify that? But you're taught in education, okay? You're taught artificial knowledge, okay? And then, that the caterpillar mentality, it destroys your creativity. And this is something I'm concerned with our children, is that if we continue to, if we keep them under the tree of death, that certainly we've been under, okay, then the same fruits that we are manifesting, they're going to manifest. That principle in nature is a seed, produces seed of its own kind. That extends to us as well in all areas. Okay, so the thing about the tree of death that's so important for us now, and why we must begin to transition our thinking, and why we must, You know, the other thing that I wanted to mention about this this tree of death is that it's so deep, it affects our brains, okay, through endorphins, and that we're constantly seeking pleasure. It doesn't matter how that pleasure comes, right? Help, you know, so the endorphins, they help relieve pain. This is how deep this warfare is against us. Okay, and so these people know that you need to reduce your stress and improve your mood to feel better. That's why they take away likes from you, to make you feel, you know, in some kind of way, some kind of stress. Okay, so the endorphins or the hormones that they release when your body feels pain or stress. Okay, but the natural, and Lance, you know, us being former athletes, you know, the cardio exercise and weight training is a natural way for the brain to release endorphins naturally, right? Now, you know more than that being in the bodybuilding industry.
You're right.
You can use something unnatural, but it ain't gonna have the same effect as the ones like you that do it naturally. So this is another area where they have hoodwinked our people, where we want to get things, you know, in an unnatural way so quick. No, you put a seed in the ground today, you think that seed is going to blossom the next day? No. So you see how we have allowed these narratives to take us to the place that we find ourselves. Okay, Brother Lance, you can put that last picture up for me, please. That
Sure.
yeah, the law of correspondence. See, the law of correspondence. This is something, and it's certainly how people know this from experience and everything in life. There's joy and pain. And why this law is so important, as above, so below, is because that same power, that dark matter energy that's above, is also below in the form of us. And this is the primary reason why you're attacked. Okay. So in contrast to the tree of death, this is a pollination type situation, where in real life, you have real joy because it's organic and it's natural. But so many of us have been indoctrinated in the artificial world that we can't even enjoy natural joy or natural organic ways. It has to be, or even if it's not true, we would rather hear that than the truth. And so that's why I have that honey there, because you're given the honey and it's sweet going down. But once it's in your insides, then it becomes bitter and sour. Okay. So this, you know, this is used to work on your emotions. All right. And this is to keep you in a mental a state of mental anguish, not just physical, because many times now they can't exert the same force of physical pain and suffering on you, even though they do it, you know, every day. But they can certainly, as long as they have you under the ice mentality with the fiat, they can and you know, the way that they manipulate the media, like Carrot, how they edit everything and how they use dark. No, dark is the greatest force in the universe and on the planet. 96% energy. You just have to put your dark force power in motion. Okay. But you're being told every time you see the word dark and light, that, you're, because when you look at the language, certainly the English language, every reference to dark is either evil or bad. I couldn't find one, okay, that had any type of positive energy associated with the word. Or even when it was, I even tried to use it in a lot of different settings. That concept, and this is a concept that's rooted in our archetypes, okay, in our subconscious, that we have got to root out. Like the weeds, we have got to root that out, okay, because dark is good, okay. But when you say, and as we read in the study, unless it's natural light from the sun, okay, then it's bad. But nobody wants to think of light as being bad, because we associate light with white and purity. That is the concept that's an archetype in our subconscious, and even in our conscious mind, because you heard me say it just now without even thinking about it. So when we begin to attack these concepts, these linguistic translations that have totally hoodwinked our people, but you got to look at it from the opposite way that you've been taught. That is the only way that you're going to begin to come out of that. And with that, my brother, I think I'll end today.
Okay. Let me hand you back on in.
All right.
This way. Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate the help.
Drop some bombs today. As always. This has surprised me. No, I expect it.
Yeah. Well, when we are given the inspiration to speak to our people like you do all the time, then you have to put yourself in a place above those narratives, because and I listen to different people, or our people, even with the coons. We live so much about these narratives we've been taught that it's almost stifling, and because we imagine if the sun only functioned at 90 degrees. So they keep us in this 90-degree way of seeing the world and, seeing each other. And so you can't be, so if I meet somebody that leans more to the psychological way of seeing life than spiritual, then all of a sudden something is wrong with that person. Or somebody that even, lives off the land or natural, that they teach you is that's not glamorous enough. But that's how we had our land taken away, and how the farmers, that was our greatest strength, brother. And they have taken us to this glitter and glamour situation, where anytime we look at any type of natural association, particularly with the earth, then they have turned this into something totally negative. So, again, brother, I want to thank you for all the work that you do. And, I feel like we reached a different translation in terms of how the information is. Because believe it or not, I don't share a lot of stuff. And I'll finish up with this, brother. I don't share a lot of stuff. But at the same time, during this whole process over these years, now, I found out some very disturbing things about our people. You can believe in your scriptures, but that is not the if you knew where it originated from, you wouldn't send these kind of emails. I expect this from other people.
Right.
The thing about our people is, okay, I don't know what is, because I certainly have a spiritual at my root, but at my root is not just spirit, okay? it's mind and body, because
Right.
they are etheric too. So this division in keeping us in 90 degrees and compartmentalizing the 4 areas of the sun of our existence here that I showed, you know, if your heart is not in the place where it needs to be in order for you to live your purpose, then you're going to have to do more to make that a reality. And that is in the same way with your mind, the same way with your spirit, and the same way with your body. Because if you're eating like those pictures you show of these people that's 400-500 pounds, and you get sick, that the Lord ain't got nothing to do with that. And there's nobody that can lay no hands on you to do nothing about it, because you have defiled dietary laws.
That's right. That's right.
All right, Brother Lance. Well, peace and love, brother.
Yes. Thank you so much, brother.
You know,
thank you so much.
I can't imagine. Well, I get my crystal ball and try to imagine how it is going up into the clouds.
Oh, tell me about it.
Man, it's a wonderful thing, brother. It's a wonderful thing.
It truly is. It's added years onto my life. Seriously.
Yes.
I'm definitely going to call you.
Okay.
But yeah. But for some reason, my phone rings only when I do shows. Right.
Okay, brother. Well,
all right, brother. Thank you so much.
You soon.
I'm going to speak to you this week. I have a way of supercharging everything. I've figured out a new formula, and it's going to blow things through the roof. That's all I have to say right now. I'm just figuring certain things out, and on a technological level. And I want to. When I say I want to blow you up, meaning what we do and what you do, it will go out there. Oh my God, I figured it out. So we'll talk this week. I got to figure everything out and under the hood, how to connect these wires here and there and get everything hooked up. But it's going to happen. It's above any expectation. All I'm going to say is,
hey, just looking at that graphic right there, man, I was like, wow, that is.
Well, you got to match every aspect of the game.
Any better?
You're worth it, brother. You put a lot of work in, you lived a life, and you have the experience and the education, the knowledge, and the spirit. And the kind heart to share what you know. A lot of people out here don't do that, and you do. So you're very much of a rare gem. A lot of folks, little secret handshakes going on. They don't want to share nothing, right? Yeah, we know what that is. But yeah, brother, I don't want no videos needed tonight, so I'm gonna keep my mouth shut for now. We'll talk on the other platforms. But yeah, have a good. Well, for you it's the afternoon. For me, it's
okay, brother. You too, Lance.
So I'll give you a call tomorrow at some point. We'll talk. I'll email you first and we'll talk so I can see.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Peace and love.
Much love. Okay. Peace.
All right.
Right.